Hello, Model Railroad fans. Welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision in HO Scale. My name is Daryl Cruz, owner and builder and also operator of the layout and your host for episode 31 of season 2023. Have a couple of things to share with you this week. First of all, it is delayed one day. Apologize for it not being out on time yesterday, but it is here today for this update. I was very busy with the op session preparations last week, but wanted to share with you a bit of a Christmas that I had getting 6 locomotives from Lombard Hobbies, as well as some other things. So definitely had a lot of fun last week unwrapping and unboxing the 6 locomotives that I received from Lombard Hobbies. Now, as you can see, I did not have Lombard Hobbies ship it to me. I actually went down to the hobby shop with a good chance to say hi to everyone and not wait an extra day to get these. I drove it's almost an hour to get there, but I went ahead and drove there and picked them up so that I could have them. And as you can see, there's 5 of the AC4400s and then also a -9 by Athearn. So 6 locomotives. I'm not going to show you opening all those right now, but I will do at least one of them. I also got a Quonset hut from Walthers. That's going to represent the Quonset hut in Granger. Here's a picture. Also a 2-door engine house, but I'm going to use it as a car shops for Evanston. And I got some people to go with the engine facilities and maybe other places as well. And what else do I have here? Oh, got some railings. You may be wondering, why do I have strap railings? It's for the Curvo Bridge, finally. Have some railings to put on there. And then, of course, Bright Boy. Got a couple of those. The ones I have are getting pretty raw and flimsy, so I got a couple of new ones. Some people don't like to use the Bright Boy, but I have no problem with using it. It works great, and the micro scratches is just a myth. Don't believe it. And I got some more couplers. But, of course, the most important thing was the locomotives. Been waiting for AC4400s for quite some time. Union Pacific has a bunch of them. I think it's over 1,000 of them, and most of them are still in use. And so I'm going to go ahead and take one out. This is 7098. This is the one that has the yellow stripe. Now, all of my locomotives have to have yellow stripes, and I actually ordered just one with the yellow stripe because they only had one road number with the yellow stripe. The other ones I'm going to have to stripe myself. Now, the first thing you look at when you open up the box is a booklet that's got tons of information. I have to hand it to SCALETRAINS. This is the most information I've ever seen in a booklet. They got information about everything. One thing I like is that they have a list of all the sound slots and what each sound slot does. You'd be surprised how often you don't have that, so you know exactly what all the different sound slots are, what all the function keys do. A picture of the locomotive at Evanston in Echo Canyon there, by the way. They made this locomotive just for me. And here's some more information. I mean, there's a ton of information, and I actually read it pretty much from cover to cover. And I usually don't do that, but this was probably the best booklet I've ever come across inside a box for a locomotive. All right, here we go. The actual locomotive in the usual safety packaging that's used by both Athearn and ScaleTrains. You do get some extra roller bearing caps in case you lose them. I think there's 4 of them here. And open this up so that you can see in the camera and I don't drop it. It's not as very easy sometimes to open these when you have the camera right there and kind of in your way, but so far so good. Alright, so it's out of the plastic packaging. It does have the truck anchors that come off very easily. They just kind of clip on a little bit. And there you have 7098. And one of the first things you notice right away is that they have painted the wheels rust color. And I do plan, of course, to weather everything. But it's kind of nice that they paint the wheels for you, so you don't have to do that as part of the weathering process. So that's a pretty cool step. Now, when I first put this locomotive on and started up at speed step 1, it is a little jerky, which is really unusual and not a good start. I was kind of like wondering what the heck. Should not be doing that. It should be nice and smooth. When you crank it up a little bit, it smooths out. But definitely wasn't too happy with that little bit of jerkiness first out of the box. So I went ahead and got another one out. This is 7113. This is one of the ones I'm going to have to restripe. And this is at speed step 1, and as you can see, it's very smooth. This is what you expect. So I got 5 of these from SCALETRAINS, and the 7098 is the only one that had the little jerkiness at the beginning. The rest ran smooth on speed step 1 and throughout the speed range. So that was very good. And also, I should say that the 7098, after I ran it a bit and had to pull a train for a while, and then the jerkiness is gone, which is pretty typical. Not typical that it's jerky at the beginning, but when it is jerky, don't worry about it too much, because in most cases, once you run it a little bit, the jerkiness goes away due to just having to have the gears and so forth broke in a little bit. So everything is good. Very happy with this so far. Now, one of the things I wanted to test is how hard it was going to be to take the dome off of the top of the locomotive. Yes, the first thing I did is destroy part of the locomotive. I want these to be around the 2018 time period, which means they have PTC antennas, not the dome antenna like you see there, and they have yellow stripes. So I bought these with the idea that I was going to have to do some work to get them up to the 2018 time period. Adding yellow striping is, of course, one of the things, and replacing the dome antenna with PTC antennas is the other. So here you can see the lights, how they look, and the sounds, the startup of the engine. The headlight, their F14 can toggle the number boards on and off. They come on automatically when you turn the engine on, and then you can toggle them on and off with F14. The walkway lights and the ground lights by the trucks come on automatically when the locomotive is started up with F8. You get a good look of all the details. This is a beautiful engine. SCALETRAINS always does a great job. I've always been very happy with the amount of detail that they put in, and I always very trusting as far as the being accurate. I did notice a few differences between of the different locomotives. I think each road number had a little bit of differences to it. The safety or warning labels were a little bit different on some of the ones with the red sill. So definitely very faithful to the prototype, and the detail is very well done, and there's a lot of it. Alright, so one thing I wanted to do is kind of check the red striping compared to the yellow striping. So here's the one yellow striping, 7098 is the only one that comes with yellow stripes on the sill. So I'm just kind of checking to see, okay, what kind of safety labels, warning labels, and just maker markings and stuff did it have, and if I added a yellow stripe, how was that going to affect those? Well, what was going to be covered up? What would I have to kind of leave available? So I was just kind of checking back and forth. Here you have the safety information goes on the yellow stripe, and then a little bit below it on those 3 spots. I'm not sure what exactly it says there. But then on the yellow, it's not on the stripe, it's completely below it. So that was going to be a little bit of an issue. Some decaling on the top too, that's very well done. Again, there you have the dome antenna that I'm going to need to be removing on all these, even on the one with the yellow stripe. This 7098 only, it was a very short period of time where it had the yellow stripe and the dome. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the dome off and shave it down. Now here, and then put on these PTC antennas. Now these aren't really setting down very well. I just have them setting on there. I still need to shave off the some of the molding around the dome antenna to get it nice and flat. So those weren't really sitting flat, but you kind of get an idea of what we're going to be doing. Those are from Macrail, by the way. Athearn also has those available, but they are out of stock as far as I can see. But here you can see the first yellow striping that I did. So this is 7157, which came from SCALETRAINS with a yellow stripe, and I used micro scale decals to cover up the red with yellow striping. Alright, so here's the red striping, and then here it is with yellow striping added. And notice I left some spaces I did not cover up with the yellow stripes so that you could see the labeling and information. But turned out pretty good, and I did 4 of them. I have 1 more to do. All right, I also did some work on a backdrop here at Evanston. This was my initial effort. I'm not happy with the way this turned out because the way I cut out the trees and put it on the existing backdrop, it just kind of looked goofy. Didn't really like the look of this at all. Also, I kind of cut this a little too close to the ground, so it looked like it was too low, and I had to put the gray there to kind of cover up the blue underneath it, because when I put it on there, I raised it up a little bit. So I wasn't happy with that. And then this was the first try for the roundhouse and area around the roundhouse, and 2 things wrong about this. The perspective is wrong. Looks like you're looking up at the roundhouse, and then the sky is all discombobulated where they're not consistent from one to the other. So what I did, I used a GIMP, G-I-M-P, which is a open source photos editing software package, and I removed the sky on photos and then just put in a generic sky. And this sky is from a picture. I just found one of the pictures that I took that had a cloudless sky, pretty much. Actually, there is a little bit of clouds here and there on it. But I used that as kind of a generic sky, and I removed the existing sky from the picture and then put in the generic sky. So Does a couple of things when you go from one section, one 8-foot section of backdrop to the next 8-foot section of backdrop. You don't have a seam between the sections. The color is consistent from one section to the other. So you can see some seams on the ground, and I'm going to have to be covering up some of that with buildings, maybe a few trees. I can't use a lot of trees in some areas because it's a yard and you don't really have a tree in the middle of a yard, but I will need to hide some of the seams in the ground area, but the sky is seamless, even though it is from two different pieces of paper. But I was pretty happy with the way this turned out. I have to kind of imagine this with ballast all through here, and kind of blending everything together for, you know, a pretty complete scene. So I was really happy with the way that turned out. I'm really not happy. This is a retry here. I tried this sky with here. It looks so bad. The sky wasn't long enough for the whole 8-foot section, so I kind of spliced them together, and the clouds turned out really goofy. Plus, it's way too blue. The blue color is way too dark. I did make the buildings a little bit bigger here, and I was happy with the way that turned out. Here you have a figure. You can see he's a little bit big for that door, but that's okay for it to be a little bit smaller than the guy, because it is kind of in the distance in the photograph. So that was good. The trees look a lot better with the printed sky. This section here, I'm going to have to reduce the size of it. Here you have the model and then the picture of the trucks, and the printed trucks are too big. So I'm going to have to reduce the size of that, and then this worked out pretty good. Here you have a Caterpillar backhoe. It looks pretty good size-wise with the existing die-cast model. So I'm going to redo the one with the station and so forth. I'm going to redo that one yet. So that means so far with Evanston, I'm having to discard 2 of the banners, so that's $36. I wouldn't say wasted, but I basically am not going to be using them. Now here we're coming into the yard, and the dispatcher gave me a green going into the yard. And you notice I do have the triple signals, and they do work, except I have no idea why that's a green. It should be flashing red. Dispatcher will need to be reprimanded for giving a green to go into the yard. But we used that during operating sessions over the weekend for both of them, and it worked out pretty good. We did have the flashing red for those occurrences. Not really sure why it was green here. So here, this is a train coming into the yard while another train goes in the opposite direction, and it is actually crossing over as well. This is normally a right-hand running section of the railroad, but now it's left-hand running because the train needs to go into the yard, and so the train coming in the other direction is crossing over to the left-hand side temporarily as it's going around the train coming into the yard. When it gets to Aspen, which is the next control point, it'll cross back over to the right-hand side. Now I videotaped the full operations of this train. This is train MNPFR, which comes from North Platte and goes to someplace in California. I forget what FR is. But anyway, you can kind of get a good look of how it looks with the backdrop photos. Kind of need to picture it with it being balanced. And I actually think it's going to be pretty cool. But I did videotape the whole thing. That will be the entire operating session for this train coming into the yard, dropping off and picking up cars and swapping out engines and so forth. That's completely videotaped, and that will be part 2. Either tomorrow or Wednesday I'll be posting that for everybody to see and check it out. So look forward to that Tuesday or Wednesday. And this is the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate everybody's interest and support. And make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Have a great rest of the week, everyone. Take care.